The Untold Story of Steve McQueen, How the King of Cool Met the King of Kings. It was indeed Billy Graham's Bible he was holding on to, maybe reading it, before he died. This is by CBN News on WND, Phoenix, Arizona. Nearly 40 years after his death, acting legend Steve McQueen is still often referred to as the King of Cool. His style and movies have proved to be timeless hits in each generation, but one story about McQueen slipped through the cracks is his salvation. His rags to riches life story still fascinates fans, new and old, but one chapter of that story is rarely shared. Now there's a powerful new film about his life and what finally led him to choose Christ. McQueen overcame many hardships and became the Hollywood boy wonder of the 1960s and 70s. Greg Laurie, pastor of Harvest Christian Fellowship in Riverside, California, a lifelong Steve McQueen fan, talked about the actor's childhood in a recent interview with CBN News, saying he had no father. His mother really did not raise him, Laurie said. She was a raging alcoholic with lots of guys, and I tracked that part of the story because I too had an alcoholic mother, married, divorced 7 times, and I never knew my biological father, Laurie said. The American icon. Today's Hollywood standards, Steve McQueen's resume would be considered relatively short, but he's an American icon. Laurie said, not everybody from his generation is an icon, but James Dean, another contemporary of McQueen, is an icon. Elvis is an icon. The Beatles are iconic. Certain people transcend time and become iconic characters. I think maybe one of the things that makes a person an icon is when there is a sort of a timelessness about them. In other words, when new generations can discover them. I actually read this article in a man's fashion magazine, and it asked the question, who was cooler, Steve McQueen or James Dean? And they were examining their lives based on the cool cars they drove, the movies they made, and kind of their fashion sense, and the conclusion was McQueen was cooler than Dean. Laurie is such a fan of McQueen that he owns a replica of the 1968 Bullitt Mustang McQueen made famous with his racing abilities on film. But beyond McQueen's style points in his famous car, there's an even bigger story about the movie icon that Laurie spent time chasing, saying, I started delving into Steve's life more, and I heard that he became a Christian, and I believe it to be true, but I never had checked it out. The pastor who led Steve McQueen to Christ. I had seen a documentary film last year, and it talked about his rise from the worst childhood imaginable to superstardom, where he was the #1 star in the world in films like Bullitt, The Great Escape, The Magnificent Seven, The Thomas Crown Affair, etc. And then he walked away from Hollywood and became a Christian, and I thought, is this true? Laurie curiously triggered a Google search, and in that search, Laurie said, the name popped up Leonard DeWitt. Leonard is the pastor that led Steve to Christ, and I thought, I wonder if this guy's still alive. So we tracked him down. I said, are you Leonard DeWitt that prayed with Steve McQueen? And he said, yes, I am. I was amazed that Leonard did not have like a website that said, the preacher who led McQueen to Christ. It's that kind of an accomplishment. The salvation of the American icon. Laurie shared how DeWitt and McQueen met in his new book, Steve McQueen, The Salvation of an American Icon. He's even creating a documentary about it. The book and film also detail a special meeting between McQueen and evangelist Billy Graham. Doctors diagnosed McQueen with an aggressive form of cancer only months after he accepted Christ. Before McQueen flew to Mexico for surgery, he met with Billy Graham, who gave him his personal Bible for the trip. Laurie said, I did ask Billy about this years ago. He said, of course, confirmed the story was true. Steve went down, had the surgery. After they wheeled him into the recovery, he was waiting in his room alone in the clinic in Juarez, Mexico, and he died. And he went into the presence of God. They came in and found Steve, and they pulled the sheet back and he was holding onto that Bible. Indeed, it was Billy Graham's Bible he was holding on to, maybe reading it before the Lord called him home. One thing Steve said before he died was, my only regret in life is that I was not able to tell people about what Christ did for me. So I wrote a book that is out now, and I'm doing this documentary film because I wanted to right the wrong. Steve McQueen, the King of Cool, realized he needed Christ, so the King of Cool met the King of Kings. And this is on WND and CBN. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.